the best. But I'm going to do it in a way, that you guys, not only understand it, not only get it, but really believe it. More than a belief, but you get it, right? So, I'm going to tell you a story. So before I joined USANA, I worked for a company in the U.S. that manufactured supplements for professionals only. All we did was make supplements not for the retail, not for the consumer. They were only used by doctors. So in order to buy our products, you had to have a practitioner's license. You either had to be an MD, or a naturopath, or a chiropractor, or a nutritionist to buy our products. So I worked in a very, very small sector, in a very specialized sector, and I thought, and I was product development like I do at USANA, so I made products, I formulated products based on the latest science for doctors who, as you probably know, are very, very, very particular. And they're very demanding, and they ask very, very specific questions. And so it's a very high level of nutrition and supplementation, and they're therapeutic products. These doctors are using products for very, very sick people, right? Very, very sick people for all kinds of different diseases and conditions. So they're very, very demanding. And so the level of quality has to be very, very high. So I thought I was the man, right? I was very special because I'm making these products for a very, very special group of people, okay? So I'm minding my own business at my job, and a headhunter calls me representing USANA, and they asked me if I wanted to interview for a job at USANA in their R&D department. So I had never heard of USANA. I had never heard of USANA before. All I knew was my direct competitors in the central business model that we use. So anyway, to make a long story short, I got obviously hired, and Dr. Wentz was personally hired me. So originally I was hired to be his liaison in R&D. So Dr. Wentz, as you know, has been trying to retire, or maybe I should say his wife has been trying to get Dr. Wentz to retire, and he's finally doing it. So I was originally hired to be his voice in R&D. So he wanted somebody who he felt he could trust to deliver the message and also oversee and maintain the quality of the USANA production cycle, right? So I got it. So I got hired, and I love product development. I love creating products. That's what I do. That's what drives me. Okay. My legacy, when I die and I'm buried, and my tombstone is hopefully going to say something to the effect that I made a difference in people's lives by doing what I do. I really believe that. So I got to the R&D department, and I started collecting data and started talking to associates about what they wanted. Like, what products do you folks want that we don't currently have? So one of the things that came up was, Dr. Fuhrman, would you formulate us a green drink? So people wanted a powdered, green, high-density, nutritionally dried powdered green drink they could just mix with water. So broccoli, spinach, kale, all these interesting nutrients, green tea. Can you make us something like that? And I said, that's easy. I've done it before. Not a problem. So I told my R&D compatriots, we're going to make a green drink for our associates, because we'll sell the heck out of it. We'll just sell the heck out of it. So their answer to me was, no, you're not. And I said, oh, yes, I am. And they said, no, you're not. And I said, yes, I am. So I said, what do you mean? We can't do this. So the answer was, from my R&D colleagues, was that we've tried this before. And the reason why you can't do it is when you concentrate vegetable matter and you extract all the water, what else are you concentrating in that material? You're concentrating all the stuff that's out there in the environment that is being absorbed by the plants. And by the time that you get to this very, very concentrated form, all the pollution, cadmium, aluminum, arsenic, all the things that are in the water, all the things that are in the air, the plant just absorbs. That's what they do, right? It finds its way into the ground. So even if you grow organic, unfortunately, you may not have the level of pesticides in the plants, but you have all the other stuff that the plant absorbs. So when we go to do the analysis of the plant material, we find that there ends up being, no matter how you grow the plants, and no matter how you process the plants, you have high levels of these heavy metals and toxins. So I said, well, that can't be true because my old company produced a product like that, and we have very, very high standards. So there's no way that we would release a product that would have unacceptable levels of all these materials. So I thought I'd be a smart guy. So what I did is I went out and I purchased all of these competitors' green drinks. I purchased them all. And I was going to do an experiment. And I was going to have them all analyzed. So I bought all of the competitors that I hold in very, very high regard, including my old company. Right? So I turned it, so I had, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 different samples. And I gave them all to our analytic department. And I said, check them all for mold, for mildew, for heavy metals, and pesticides. And I'm going to show these guys, they don't know what they're talking about. So we did. We had them all analyzed. And we got back these sheets of statistics and levels and just all of this information. And much to my chagrin, every single product failed. Every single one. So, my point is that USANA's now when I say failed, what I mean is they failed USANA's standard. They passed USDA, FDA standards, okay, but they did not pass USANA's standards. So USANA would not make this product because it wouldn't pass the standards that USANA has set for them to be able to stand behind their products. So everybody else may be passing these levels of quality, but they don't meet up to USANA standards. So I learned a very interesting lesson that day, that another company may have created this product and released it to the public. And I'm not saying that these products are in any way detrimental to health, because we're always eating plant materials and vegetables that come with naturally occurring toxins from our environment. But we at USANA have taken a stand that there are certain things that we won't do just to make money. And so that is a personal lesson, again, that it's very meaningful. And so when I say that we're the best, every other company on the planet is going to make that product and release it, but we won't. So I hope that really kind of emphasizes the degree to which USANA goes to really maintain that high level of quality. So that really is the USANA difference. It's a personal commitment from Dr. Wentz that has permeated the whole organization, that certainly permeated R&D, and makes me feel that I'm in rare company. Very, very, very rare company. So, having said all that, you went too far.
You went
Too far? Okay. There we go.
Thanks.
Okay. One went back too far. Here, I'm gonna let you do it. Okay. All right. So, has anybody been to? Did anybody go to the convention we just had? You went. All right.
Sí.
Oh, look, all of you. Okay, many of you did. Okay, so a lot of you know what intelligence is about, and I know it's hard. It's so it took from the inception of the concept of intelligence and what we were going to start to do in terms of integrating it into our products. It took 2 years for our marketing department to understand it, so that they can write descriptions and information to convey to you for 2 years. So I get it. It's hard. It's really hard. So hopefully over the weekend, when we talk about it a little more in depth, I'll be able to add another level of understanding. Because if we break it down to very simple elements, it's not that hard. It's really not that hard. But we want to be fancy and we want to be impressive, so we talk in these high scientific ways, but I'll break it down to you so it's really, really easy to understand. But going forward in the future, this is where it's at. All right? This is where it's at. And we're going to be releasing and creating more products in the future based on this whole scientific concept. So superior ingredients, we kind of talked about that a little bit. So there is a standard in the pharmaceutical industry called USP grade. This is a pharmaceutical quality, all right? Those are what we use in our products. So pharmaceutical quality, or USP grade, pharmaceutical quality only is relevant to things like vitamins and minerals. You don't apply that to natural things like extracts or herbs. That doesn't exist because you can't maintain this very, 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 very high level of quality in a naturally occurring product. Can't do it. So I can say that this carrot is organic and it's a high quality carrot, but you can't call it USP grade because there's no way to analyze that carrot is 99% pure carrot. Does that make sense? Because a carrot's made up of a lot of different things. But vitamin C, or vitamin D, or vitamin E is a singular molecule. And so you can analyze it to determine that vitamin C molecule is 99% pure. You can do that. So you can apply USP grade, the pharmaceutical grade, to that. Or magnesium, or iron, or anything like that. You can do that. You can identify it through a series of instruments. HPLC, gas chromatography, those are the kind of things that you do to first identify a constituent in a product, and then determine the extent of its quality. All right, but you can't do that with green tea, or you can't do that with curcumin. So USP doesn't you can't use that system, but you can for the other ingredients. So when it comes to USP grade, we can use that, and those are the kinds of ingredients that we actually seek out. They have to be 98% pure for us to use in our products, and that is a USP grade. So that's what that means. So when we talk about quality ingredients, that's what we're talking about, is that standard of quality. So for those of you who went to convention, did you see the portion of the convention where they strutted out all the scientists in R&D? So it's really, it's kind of impressive that when you go out, this stage was, 2 football fields long, and they had this army of R&D people that came out on stage. It's done for effect, but the effect is to impress upon you how big the R&D department is. There's not a nutritional company on the planet. There is not a nutritional company on the planet that comes close to the amount of scientists and technicians and quality control people that we have at USANA. Nobody comes close. I'd say we're probably at least double our nearest competitor, if not perhaps even triple. Nobody comes close. So and we're growing R&D as we speak. We're actually hiring more PhDs. And the joke is you can't swing a dead cat in R&D without hitting a PhD. Everybody's a PhD. It's ridiculous. It's like, what do we need with all these PhDs? But that's the scientific commitment that Dr. Wentz has to the R&D department, and the amount of money that we're going to invest in research so we can make products that really mean something, that really make a difference, that are in people's lives. That's what we've been doing, but in this next evolution of USANA, we're just doubling down on everything and growing the department. So maybe in 5 years, instead of seeing 60 people on stage, you're going to see 100 people. I mean, the company's just growing like crazy. And again, it's the commitment to real research and real quality and determining what science is going to make the biggest difference in people's health. So it's great to sit up here and say, well, we do a lot of research and blah, blah, blah. But what's really cool and where the real impact is when you form alliances with other universities and research institutions. So these are independent. So we can do our own research in-house and come out the other end and say whatever it is that we say. But when you form these alliances with independent researchers, they're not going to come out and say what we want them to say. They're going to come out and say the truth. All right? And so all of these alliances in these independent universities and research institutions are aligning themselves with us and acknowledging who we are in the industry. In other words, people want to work with us. People want to work with us. And so we have, and currently we're working with a university in Australia. And I can't tell you what the project is because I'll be taken out and shot. But we're investing a lot of money into these very, very elaborate, product-focused research studies. So the excitement, to me, isn't quite there yet, but in 2018, 2019, 2020, because these studies take a year to perform. And they're quite sophisticated, and we're going to be able to say this product has been tested in this population of people and has been demonstrated to do this thing. That's what I'm shooting for. That's my goal. It's not to say these ingredients have been shown to. I don't care about that. And that's good. You can use borrowed science to create a product, and that's what mostly everybody does. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's perfectly fine. What I want is I want to stand up here and hold this bottle in my hand and say, this whole formulated product has been shown to do that. This is our goal. Nobody does that. Because it's so expensive. It's so expensive to do. And luckily we have the budget to do that. So we're investing our R&D budget to do that.
Creo que si antes de que yo esté como concesión.
All right, to develop and provide the highest quality science-based health products. I mean, that goes without saying. So, who has been to corporate? Who's been to corporate in Salt Lake City? Excellent. God, you guys rock. So you guys took the tour.
Yes.
And you saw the manufacturing facility, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
I mean, is it impressive?
Yes.
It really is. Nobody's doing that. So again, in my old company, we owned a subsidiary manufacturing plant in Montana. And so I used to visit that manufacturing plant, and I was impressed. I had nothing to compare it to, so what do I know? I mean, it was all cool and machinery and people with hairnets and But then I went to USANA when I went for my interview to visit the company, and I thought, you can literally eat off the equipment. And it is so immaculate. That, what you're looking at when you visit corporate and you see that facility, that is pharmaceutical. That's what a pharmaceutical manufacturer looks like. And that's what USANA has done, is they invested that much money into those processes. And we're constantly upgrading the machinery. We're constantly upgrading the technology that's involved in the manufacturing process. We're constantly doing that. I mean, it's really, really impressive when you see the competition. When you compare it to the competition, it's like, holy cow, we've really made a stand, right? So I mean, I still get excited when I talk about it, because it's the comparison is just so stark. The differences are just so night and day. The slide reflects again the level of commitment that we do, that we take, the pains that we take, the money that we invest to really identify and really define the efficacy, the bioavailability, the quality of the ingredients. We do constant in-house studies. Who knows about Soniviv in the hospital in Mexico? Mm-hmm. So I've just recently been appointed the liaison between USANA and Soniviv. And much to Soniviv's, I think, chagrin, I get to say, you guys are going to start doing more studies for USANA, and this is what we're going to. So we're incorporating Soniviv much more aggressively into the USANA scientific community, and we're going to have them doing a lot more evaluations. We've already done 2. We're on our 3rd one for products that we're going to be hopefully releasing in 2018 through 2019. So they are going to be doing all of our initial evaluations. All right? So at that time, when they complete their evaluations, we then go to the independent universities and then form very, very elaborate formal studies. So they're at the highest level of product evaluation, checking for efficacy with their patients, with their employees. Who uses that kind of facility just to evaluate the product? We're not even talking about going into a formal study. This is just to give us a high-level, bottom-line evaluation to see, is this product worth it? Are we getting the effects? Are we seeing the benefits that we hope to see, and that will justify $500,000, $1 million formal study with another university? So that's what we're starting with Soniviv. So again, it's just another level of quality, another level of integrity and importance that we place on making sure that the products work. So that guy in the white hair, that's the guy who I gotta tell you this story. So I gotta tell you this story. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now, but just indulge me. I told you that I got notified by that headhunter. I wasn't looking for a job. I was perfectly happy with what I was doing, but I thought, what the heck? Let's just go see what this company's about, and let's just see what they offer me. So the first thing is that How many people know who Tim Wood is? Does anybody know Tim? Tim Wood. Okay, so Tim Wood was the old vice president of R&D, who was retired at the time, but he still has a close relationship with Dr. Wentz. So Dr. Wentz told Tim, hey, I have this guy for this position. Would you interview him? So Tim said, of course I would. So I had a conversation with Tim, and then at the time, the head of HR. Mm-hmm. And it was a great conversation, and it went very, very well. And so Tim went back to Dr. Wentz and said, hey, I think that you should meet this guy and have a conversation with him. So my headhunter called me back, and she said, okay, Dr. Wentz wants to have a one-on-one phone call with you, and just to interview you and see if you're right for the job. So I meet with Dr. Wentz, and for those of you who have ever spoken to him, he's really a serious guy. And he made me really, really nervous. And so in order for me to kind of relax, I started telling some really terrible jokes, and they all just bombed. I mean, it just bombed, and he would just sit there like, what? We're going to talk about science, and I'm nervous, and I'm trying to... Anyway, so we talked about an hour, and we hung up the phone. Oh, that was just terrible. So the headhunter called me the next day, and she wanted to know how it went. And she said, Mike, how did your interview with Dr. Wentz go? And I said, he thinks I'm an idiot. And she said, what are you talking about? She said, I just got off the phone with him, and he wants to fly you into Salt Lake City and have a personal face-to-face meeting with you. And so, I guess my point kind of is that, reality is so elusive to us sometimes that we're all caught up in our own crazy thoughts and things. And I thought I blew the interview, and he thinks I'm a moron, and why would he hire me? And anyway, so that's my first Dr. Wentz story. I got more, but that's my first Dr. Wentz story. I had the pleasure when Dave was CEO, Dave Wentz, who I enjoyed my time with him very, very much. And he's another, even though he's not directly involved with USANA now, I can honestly say that his level of commitment to the company was just very, very high. And I don't know how popular the guy in the middle is, Dr. Wise. He's apparently very, very popular in the U.S., and he's an incredibly talented, bright. He's taken a lot of risk as a medical doctor, aligning himself with a nutrition company who, to a lot of MDs, the whole nutrition industry is a little suspicious in anyway, which I don't understand. I just don't get it. But I think part of the reason is that most MDs aren't really taught nutrition in medical school, and so if it's not taught to me, then it doesn't exist, or it's meaningless, or perhaps just outright fallacious and not real. Yeah. So he's taking a big risk in aligning himself with USANA, or even with just the whole nutritional industry in general. But he gets it. He really, really gets it. And what's cool is that he has the availability to spread the message to millions and millions of people, and that's what we're about, and that's what you guys are about, right? Is spreading the message, because he knows, that USANA really does make a difference, right?